Alright guys, welcome back to D-Tech. Today's video we are going to be working on some old school Mercedes engine computers. Now I'll get you a non-backwards type shot of the numbers. I'll put up a picture or something. But these are Bosch units out of a 2001 Mercedes S430. And these were brought to me because the original one, which is this guy right here, seems to not control the throttle body correctly. The vehicle still runs, starts, drives, but they want to try to get that rectified. So we've got a used unit here. We are going to go ahead and basically try to clone it. I've not encountered one this, let's call it old, up to this point. And apparently you can do basically EPROM, where you can either transfer over the EPROM or clone the EPROM. But I am going to try to see if we can get also the flash and not just EPROM information. Alright guys, so obviously we've got both open, and let me get you the correct orientation. So there's the number for the original one, and one thing about these which might be a good thing, it appears that the EPROM, the actual EPROM, is on the back side. Now, as you can tell, the backside is glued to the metal case. Now I'm sure it's no big deal, nothing different than other ECUs where you got to pry them open. But if you don't want to mess with that and potentially crack the circuit board or cause some damage to gain access to the EPROM, I think the OBD Star lets us do it without having to gain access to the EPROM, and it states that it's gonna read the flash also. So we might have gotten lucky. Let's go ahead if the OBD Star can do it, and I'll set up all the connections. Alright, so I made my connections. This does call for a boot pin to be soldered on, as we can see there. So from here on out, we are going to try to read the original one and see if the OBD Star will work. Alright, so to my surprise, it did make a successful connection. So from here on out, just basic straightforward, we'll read the flash and then EPROM and write it over. So I'll get going with that, and I'll just fast forward or get you guys back on when I'm done. Alright guys, so finally finished with this cloning. We did a full one-to-one flash and EPROM. One thing to tell you, just based off of experiencing what this whole process was, I probably would not recommend this if you guys have the ability to do an EPROM read. Now the reasons why, this is kind of contradicting as to how I started or was explaining about trying to do it this way to get the flash also. The reason why is this reading procedure per module, meaning each one, because you're going to have to read, back up, and then write to, you know, so on and so forth. It ended up taking about an hour and a half to do both modules. It was totally unexpected that it was going to take this long, and it's because just reading the flash and then reading the EPROM, it took so long to get through those processes that unless you want to just click the button and let it go, or if you have the time, or if you just cannot solder or read EPROM, so on and so forth, I guess it can work. It'll get the job done, but it was definitely a whole lot longer than what I was expecting. Now, I think the reason why is because of the way the data gets read. This is done through a K-line bus, which is a single wire bus that everything gets done through the one wire, and the communication protocol speed is a whole lot slower than what I'm used to when doing on bench, which is via regular CAN bus. What we've come to know, which that communication protocol speed is a whole lot faster. Maybe I'll put up some specs here, and I believe that is the reason why. I mean, it has to be the reason why, because we're pulling info, writing info, everything through the single wire K-line bus, and it just took forever. So that's one thing that I'm going to point out and keep in mind. Yes, it finally did do it successfully, but it took a whole lot more time than I was expecting. Alright guys, so I actually wanted to try to see if I could read this in circuit with the Autel. I've never ever really had good success, and I did finally get a good read. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I did switch this clip to a Pomona style. I soldered it onto the Autel cable. The clip that comes on the Autel is just not great, so I was wondering if switching clips would help me do an in-circuit, and this is actually my first time ever actually getting a read. So let me try to start over and show you that we can get a read. So for now, I've let go. The clip is actually still holding. Let's go ahead and try to start over. So let's see, go new, and then let's see. And then we will hit read right now, so I'll show you. So there we go. We finally again was able to get an in-circuit read with the Autel programmer and a good clip. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. The reason why, I'm kind of just messing around to show you that this is the other way in order to get these modules to basically kind of clone over. This is the important stuff where the security and all that immobilizer VIN number information is at. And so primarily this is where you would want to get the information from in order to transfer it over to the donor. It wasn't that difficult to pry this one up, a lot easier than the newer stuff that we deal with. Again, this is an 01, so I'm gonna save this data, and also I want to double verify my tooling, the OBD Star, so I'm gonna compare this direct pull of info from the original one. That is the donor that I cloned. I'm not going to mess with that. I saved the data that we pulled via the K-line connection, and I'm going to compare that EPROM read with this direct EPROM read just to, again, double verify and show you guys that both ways are possible to do this job. Alright guys, so one thing that I've just found interesting, as I was saving it, this is the one that I just read on camera with you guys, the one that I just saved, and it's labeled here. This tab up there is the read that I did off camera. Now it's the same setup, everything, read just, you know, a minute or two after one another, but concentrate here. Now, it should not be any different, but I'm going to click over. Now, if you notice that, but I'll click back. There you go. There is some data differences between the two reads, if you look and see. Now, one of them is, this is the read that I did with you guys. If you look here, there's an 8 dot EPROM210. Let's see. That looks to be a VIN number, but there's a digit missing. Now let me go to the first read, and it's filled. There's a 2 there after the 8. That second read is missing part of the VIN number, and its data is different from the first read. So I'll pan over again. There's a bunch of different portions where data is different. Now, I'm not 100% what's going on. I might have an idea, but part of why sometimes I like to use the tablet, the IM608 tablet, is because on there you have a feature where it will verify the reads. It'll do 2 reads, compare the 2, and then basically spit it out to you to save if both reads were the same, and which means would be a good, clean, correct read. I have not been able to find that on the PC software. If you guys know where there's a setting for a verification, like a second read, let me know. But I've not found it anywhere. But one thing that I believe I did do was change my voltage, because I was having trouble getting a read off camera. One thing you can do here on PC, and you can also on the tablet, is change your voltage. So sometimes when you're trying to read in circuit, you will not be able to get a read as many times as you can. You can sometimes, with the voltage that you feed to power up the EPROM, since it's still in circuit on the board, can then, span out to other chips, wake up other circuits, and it'll prevent the EPROM from being read, because now we're waking up the other chips on the board, and it just does not isolate the EPROM. And so some programmers will drop the voltage that it feeds so that it can just power up the EPROM and not span out and power up other chips on the board. And so sometimes you can get a good in-circuit read by dropping the power. That's what I was trying to do when I was not getting any reads off camera. I was messing with the voltage, and it finally read when I was holding down the clip. Now, whether it was a contact issue with the clip or a voltage difference, that was from the first read, which is what's giving us the difference between the two, because this second one was made at 5 volts. So let's do another new, find the same chip. Let's hit OK. Let's drop our voltage. I'm going to go down to 3.3. And so, you see there, 3.3. Let's now do a read and see what we get. Alright, so we got a successful read. And our VIN number is full. Let's compare with the first read. I didn't see any changes. Let's go back. Now I believe these two seem to match. If you see, there's no data difference changing over here like there is on this one. So let's now open another new read. Not there. Here. Do the same, but at 5 volts. So we're going to leave it. The default is 5 volts, which if you're out of circuit, isolating the EPROM, 5 volts is fine. Let's see if this is what's causing our issue in circuit. So let's hit read. Alright, and VIN number. Look at that. Wow, that is super interesting. we now have a different character that's missing, and also one that's just a funky character and not a number or a letter. And I think even the beginning portion's missing the W. Let's go back. Yeah, look at that. Wow, I think I just kind of inadvertently discovered something as I was trying to get a good read, which I knew that sometimes, again, dropping the voltage helps to get a good in-circuit read, but I did not know that you could potentially sometimes still get a in-circuit read at 5 volts, but compared to 3.3, it looks like the 5 volt read is basically, I'm going to call it corrupted. It's just definitely not correct. It shouldn't be that way. And it's bouncing from one 5 volt read to another 5 volt read. So number 3 is a 5 volt read, and then the one that I labeled and saved, which I need to now correct and not save that one. Those two 5 volt reads, I think they differ from each other. So let's look here. Yeah, big time. So if I were to think that I got a good read at 5 volts, would have never double checked, kept it, saved it, cloned it over in this fashion or matter to this guy, I never would have known that I would have been transferring corrupt data. And this, if it's a mail-in service or a friend at a shop that's, say, 40 minutes away, gets over there, plugs it in, and then doesn't even crank up and start, he's going to be pretty upset because this one did start it. It just had troubles with the throttle body. And if I tell him that that's good now and cloned over and it doesn't even start because the info is all corrupted, he's going to be upset. All right, now what I want to do is compare the EPROM read from the OBD Star from the one that we think is good with the Autel at 3.3 volts. So I'm going to see if they are the same. So first we'll pick the Autel read, and now we'll open and compare the OBD Star. There we go. Both of those are the same. Now we just compared both those files and they are the same. Again, this is just kind of mind-blowing. Imagine if we would have just read it at 5 volts in circuit and thought we had the correct file. We would have been in trouble. We would have created more problems and been probably chasing our tails, or my friend could have been chasing this tail. It's eye-opening. It's definitely interesting, and I'm glad I was poking around and just able to quickly see that flipping between both files, the first read off camera and the on camera read were different. If I never would have picked up the camera to show you on camera, I would have thought the first read was good. So that was it was something definitely interesting to pick up and notice, or make ourselves aware of it. So kind of got lucky with that. So now that I know 100% that the clone from the OBD Star is going to be good because we verified from the direct read on the chip, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this one here. I'm going to wrap that up, get that all put back together. And for you guys with this one, hopefully it was some sort of informative or gets you to see some of this experience that I went through. And now you guys won't have to deal with a situation where maybe you think a read is good and then the situation goes awry and now a vehicle won't start or computer won't work, so on and so forth. if there's a way to verify by double checking a verification read with your programmer, or if you physically have to look at two files, see if data points are different, or throw it in a hex editor, it's going to be worth the time to save the headaches that this can cause. So with that, thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.